Daniel Harper had always believed in systems. Code had taught him that. Input predictable, output reliable. 17 years of marriage operated on the same principle. He rose at 5:45 every weekday, brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint, kissed Emily on the forehead while she pretended to still be asleep, then drove the 47 minutes to the office park where his team built back-end infrastructure for companies that sold convenience to people who had too much of it already. He provided. That was the input. Stability, vacations to places with infinity pools, private school tuition for Mia and Lucas, the house in the cul-de-sac with the double-height foyer she'd wanted because it photographed well. The output was supposed to be contentment, loyalty, a quiet life that didn't require drama. He never saw the exception coming. It arrived on a Tuesday in late October, the kind of gray day that makes the suburbs feel like they're holding their breath. He came home earlier than usual, client meeting canceled, nothing urgent on the board, so he stopped at the bakery she liked and picked up the almond croissants she claimed were the only thing worth calories. The house smelled faintly of her perfume and the lavender candle she burned when she was stressed. He set the bag on the island, called her name. No answer. She was in the living room, dressed in the cream cashmere sweater he'd bought her last Christmas, hair pulled into the low bun she wore when she wanted to look composed. On the coffee table, a manila envelope, thick, official-looking. She didn't look up when he entered. "Sit," she said. He sat. The leather couch creaked under him like it knew what was coming. "I've filed for divorce," she said. No preamble, no tears, just the sentence, delivered flat, like reading from a script. "No fault. We can keep this civil for the kids." Daniel felt the room tilt, but only internally. Externally, he stayed still. "Why?" She met his eyes then. Hers were the same hazel they'd been when they met at 24, but the warmth had drained out. "I haven't been happy for a long time. You know that." He didn't know that. He knew she'd been distant the last year, scrolling more, laughing less at his jokes, spending longer weekends with friends in the city. He'd chalked it up to mid-40s malaise, the way careers plateau and kids turn into teenagers who only speak in grunts. He'd suggested counseling once. She'd said no, she wasn't the problem. "Who is he?" Daniel asked. Her jaw tightened. "That's not relevant." "It's relevant to me." She exhaled through her nose. "Mark, from marketing. We've been seeing each other." Mark Ellison. 42, divorced once already, drove a leased Tesla, posted gym selfies with captions about leveling up. Daniel had met him at the company holiday party 2 years earlier. They'd shaken hands. Mark had complimented Daniel's tie like it was a favor. "How long?" Daniel asked. 8 months. 8 months. While Daniel was paying the second mortgage payment, coaching Lucas's soccer team, driving Mia to debate practice, while he was still telling himself the marriage was in a rough patch, not a terminal one. He looked at the envelope. "And this?" "Divorce petition. I want primary custody, the house, alimony until the kids finish college. You can keep most of the retirement accounts." He laughed once, a dry sound that surprised even him. "Generous." "I'm trying to make this easy." "Easy for who?" She didn't answer. He opened the envelope anyway. The papers were crisp, legal blue. He skimmed. No fault, irretrievable breakdown. Then the attachment, motion for temporary protective order. Allegations of emotional abuse, verbal intimidation, 1 count of physical intimidation, a door slammed hard enough to make her fear for her safety. Dates aligned suspiciously with nights he'd been home late from deployments or crunch weeks. No police reports, no medical records, just her affidavit. He set the papers down carefully. "You're claiming I abused you." "I'm claiming I felt unsafe. The court will decide." "The court will see there's nothing here." "Maybe, but they'll err on the side of caution, especially with children involved. She leaned forward. Daniel, don't fight this. It'll be worse for everyone. He stared at her. The woman who'd once cried happy tears when he proposed on a frozen lake now sat calculating asset division like a spreadsheet. He felt something shift inside him, not rage, not yet, just the cold snap of recognition. She had planned this. The affair was the escape velocity. The abuse claim was the parachute to land with the house, the kids, the monthly checks. He stood. I need air. She didn't stop him. Outside, the cul-de-sac was quiet. Leaves skittered across driveways. He walked to the end of the block and back, breath fogging. When he returned, she was gone, car missing from the garage, suitcase probably already packed in the trunk. She'd left a note on the counter next to the croissants. Kids are at my sister's tonight. We'll talk lawyers tomorrow. He read it twice. Then he opened his laptop. The first search was simple. False domestic abuse allegations divorce. Forums popped up. Men's rights boards, red pill subreddits, legal advice threads, stories identical in outline, wife branches to higher status male, files for divorce, tax on abuse, claim to tilt custody and alimony. Success rate high because courts prioritize safety over evidence, burden of proof low for temporary orders, permanent damage to reputation and wallet high. He read for hours. The croissants sat untouched. Around 2 a.m., he found a PDF checklist from a family law firm specializing in high-conflict divorces. Title: Surviving False Allegations. Bullet points: Document everything. Do not react emotionally in writing or in person. Record all interactions if legal in your state. One-party consent here. Hire a shark, not a friend. Prepare for parental alienation. Protect finances immediately. He started a new folder on his desktop. Evidence. First entry, screenshot of the protective order motion. Second, photo of the note she left. Third, export of their joint bank statements going back 2 years. Every transfer to her, every vacation, every tuition payment. Then he opened her Instagram on a private tab. She hadn't blocked him yet. Recent posts, her at a rooftop bar with Mark, arms linked, caption new chapter. Another, selfie in a new condo lobby, fresh start feels good. Likes from mutual friends. Comments, you deserve this. Queen. He closed the tab. No anger, just data. The next morning he called in sick, first time in 7 years. Then he called 3 divorce attorneys. The third one, a woman named Rachel Klein, with a reputation for dismantling false claims, took his call immediately. Mr. Harper, she said after he summarized, this is textbook. She's banking on fear. Most men fold at the protective order stage. If you hold frame, we can turn this. Hold frame. Stay calm. Don't negotiate from emotion. Document obsessively. We'll counterfile for 50-50 custody, challenge the abuse claim with lack of corroboration, and go after her affair as dissipation of marital assets if it involves spending joint funds. He liked her voice, clipped, no sympathy, just strategy. Retainers $15,000, she said, non-refundable. Done. He wired it that afternoon. Over the next week, the house emptied in stages. Emily returned for clothes, kitchen items she claimed as hers. Each visit he recorded on his phone, audio only legal. She tried small talk once, the kids are confused, then switched to accusations when he stayed neutral. You're so cold now. He said nothing incriminating, just, I'm following my attorney's advice. She left angrier each time. The temporary protective order hearing came fast, emergency docket. He appeared via Zoom, Rachel beside him in her office. Emily appeared from her new condo, flanked by her lawyer, a soft-faced man who looked uncomfortable. The judge, a woman in her 60s, reviewed the filings. Emily's affidavit repeated the claims, raised voices, slammed doors. One incident where he grabbed her arm during an argument about finances. No witnesses, no photos, no 911 calls. Rachel presented counter-evidence, calendar entries showing Daniel at work or with the kids on alleged dates, text logs of calm exchanges, bank records of him paying every major bill without protest. The judge frowned. "This is thin, Ms. Harper. Temporary order granted for 30 days, but I expect more at the permanent hearing. No contact except for child exchanges via our Family Wizard app. Counseling for the children mandatory." Emily's face flushed. She muted herself, but Daniel saw her mouth move, something sharp. After the hearing, Rachel turned to him. She overplayed. "We'll motion to dismiss at the next hearing. Start logging every exchange. And Daniel, get to the gym. You're going to need stamina for what's coming." He nodded. That night he ordered a barbell set, plates, bench, everything delivered to the garage. He cleared space beside the lawnmower and old Christmas decorations. When the boxes arrived, he assembled alone, concrete floor cold under his knees. The first lift was pathetic, empty bar, form terrible, back rounding. He dropped it after 5 reps, hands shaking. Then he did it again and again. Upstairs, the house echoed. Kids still at Emily's sister's. He sat on the garage floor, sweat cooling, and opened Epictetus on his phone. The words hit like cold water. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. He read it twice. Then he stood, reset the bar, and lifted again. The fall wasn't the divorce. The fall was the moment he believed provision guaranteed love. The rise began in that garage, under fluorescent light, with a barbell that didn't care about feelings. The garage became Daniel's first real sanctuary after the fall. Not because it was warm or comfortable, it wasn't. The concrete floor stayed cold even in late fall. The single bulb overhead buzzed like a trapped insect, and the air smelled of motor oil and old cardboard. But it was the one room Emily had never claimed, never decorated, never cared enough to enter unless she needed him to fix something. Now it was his. He started every morning at 4:45 a.m., alarm set to a low chime. No music, no motivational podcast, just silence broken by the sound of his own breathing. He pulled on sweatpants and an old tech company hoodie, the one with the logo half faded from too many washes. Down the stairs, past the empty kids' rooms, Mia and Lucas still at Emily's sister's most nights, court-ordered transition period, through the kitchen where the almond croissants had long since molded in the trash, and into the garage. First session, empty barbell, 5 sets of 5 deadlifts, form atrocious. Back rounded, hips shooting up too fast, grip slipping. He filmed himself on his phone propped against a paint can, watched the playback while sweat dripped onto the lens, cringed, reset, did it again. The bar clanged louder each rep, echoing off the drywall like a metronome counting down to something he couldn't yet name. Nutrition came next. He'd never dieted before, always ate what was convenient, what Emily cooked or ordered. Now he weighed chicken breasts on a cheap digital scale from Amazon, measured rice in grams, tracked macros in an app called MyFitnessPal. Breakfast, 6 eggs, spinach, black coffee. Lunch, grilled chicken, broccoli, olive oil. Dinner, steak or salmon, sweet potato if he felt like carbs. No cheat meals, no alcohol. The body didn't negotiate. By week 4, the mirror started lying less. Shoulders rounded forward less. Traps emerged like small hills under the skin. He bought a heavier bar, 45 pounds of solid steel, and added 10-pound plates on each side. The first time he pulled 135 pounds cleanly, he stood there breathing hard, staring at the bar like it had just told him a secret. Work followed the same rhythm. He'd always been competent, reliable, the guy who fixed production outages at 3 a.m. without complaint. But competence is invisible until it stops. He stopped saying yes to every meeting. He started saying, "I'll review and get back with a recommendation by EOD." He audited his calendar, cut recurring syncs that added no value, delegated low-leverage tasks to the junior engineers who needed the reps. His director noticed. "You seem different," Mark, the same Mark who'd once run the holiday party trivia, said during a one-on-one. "More focused." Daniel nodded. "Divorce does that." Mark winced. "Heard about that. Rough, if you need anything." "I'm good." He wasn't asking for pity. He was signaling, "I'm not broken." The pivot happened in January. The company was spinning up an AI infrastructure team, LLM serving, vector databases, cost optimization at scale. Daniel had side-projected with PyTorch for fun years earlier. He volunteered, got pulled into the charter. 3 months later, he was lead architect on the inference cluster rebuild, remote approved, salary renegotiated. Base jumped from $178,000 to $245,000, plus equity refresh that vested quarterly. He didn't celebrate. He just updated the spreadsheet titled Rebuild. Money went 3 places: attorney fees, Rachel was burning through retainer fast, the garage gym, second barbell, power rack, adjustable dumbbells, and a high-yield savings account labeled "Fuck You Fund." He kept the house utilities in his name, paid the mortgage on time, documented every dollar. Emily's lawyer tried to paint him as financially coercive in filings. Rachel countered with receipts. Motion denied. Reading became ritual, not self-help fluff, nothing with pastel covers or promises of manifesting abundance. Stoicism first. Epictetus's Enchiridion on the phone during lunch breaks. He highlighted one line so often the app flagged it. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He copied it to a note pinned at the top of his phone. Read it before every workout, every difficult email, every child handoff when Emily tried to bait him in the driveway. Marcus Aurelius next. Meditations on Audible during drives to the kids' school drop-off. He fought for and won every other weekend plus one midweek dinner. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He started journaling, not feelings but facts, date, event, reaction, his, desired frame, actual frame, deviation, correction, example entry, February 14th, event. Emily texted on Valentine's. "Kids asked why Daddy doesn't love us anymore." His initial reaction, anger spike. Wanted to reply, ask their mother why she blew up the family. Desired frame, gray rock, no emotion, no defense. Actual replied, "We'll discuss parenting matters through our family wizard only." Deviation, none. Correction, none needed. The kids were the hardest variable. Mia, 15, had always been Daddy's girl. Quiet, bookish, sarcastic in the way that made him proud. Lucas, 12, was louder, athletic, still hugged him goodbye in front of friends. But alienation is slow poison. Emily fed them lines. "Your father's angry all the time now. He chose work over family. He doesn't want to see us as much as he says." Mia started answering texts with one-word replies. Lucas asked once, eyes down, "Did you really yell at Mom a lot?" Daniel crouched to eye level. "I raised my voice sometimes when we argued. I'm sorry for that, but I never hurt her, ever." Lucas nodded, uncertain. Daniel didn't push. He just kept showing up, on time, calm, present. Emily, meanwhile, was living her new chapter in high definition. She'd moved into a sleek one-bedroom condo downtown, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, rent. Daniel was still subsidizing via temporary alimony. Instagram stories every weekend, bottomless mimosas with the girls, Mark's arm around her waist at a rooftop lounge, filtered selfies in low-cut dresses captioned, "Learning to love myself again," She'd gained a little weight from the brunches and cocktails, but the angles hid it. Mutual friends liked and commented, "You look amazing. So happy for you." Glow up. Daniel didn't look often, once a month maybe on a Sunday night when the house felt too quiet. He'd open a private browser, scroll her profile, catalog the changes like field notes. New purse, new nails, new circle of friends who didn't know the old Emily. He felt nothing romantic, just detached curiosity, like watching a species he used to study go extinct in real time. Mark lasted 9 months total. The breakup wasn't public at first. Emily kept posting coupley content for another 3 weeks, but the comments dried up. Then a single story, black square, caption, "Sometimes love isn't enough," blocked anyone who asked questions. Daniel heard the rest through a coworker who still spoke to Mark. She wanted more commitment. He wasn't ready. Fought about it in front of people at the company happy hour. He bounced. Daniel filed that away, noted it in the journal under external variables. Spring brought the first real test of frame. Emily requested an emergency modification hearing, claimed Daniel was withholding emotional support from the children, requested full custody again, plus increased alimony because my living expenses have risen unexpectedly. Rachel laughed when she read the filing. She's panicking. Her boyfriend's gone, the condo lease is up for renewal, and the alimony clock is ticking down. She's trying to reset the board. Daniel didn't laugh. He prepared. They met in Rachel's conference room. Emily arrived in a tailored blazer, hair blown out, makeup perfect. She avoided his eyes. Her lawyer rattled off the list. Daniel's new job kept him distracted. He was cold and uncommunicative during exchanges. The children reported feeling unsafe around his new anger. Rachel slid a binder across the table. 300 pages. Screenshots of every Our Family Wizard message. Polite, prompt, child-focused. School attendance records. Daniel hadn't missed a parent-teacher conference. Therapy notes from the court-ordered counselor. Father presents as stable and engaged. Gym check-ins time-stamped during alleged anger episodes. He was squatting 225 when she claimed he was screaming at her via text. The judge didn't even let Emily's lawyer finish. This motion is denied. Custody remains as ordered. Ms. Harper, further frivolous filings will result in sanctions. Emily left without speaking. Daniel watched her go. No triumph. Just confirmation. The system rewards evidence, not narrative. That night he added 20 pounds to the deadlift. 275 for 5, form clean, no bounce. He racked the bar, stepped back, and for the first time in months allowed himself a small, private smile. The forge was working, his body was harder, his finances were stronger, his mind, thanks to Epictetus, Marcus, daily logging, was no longer at the mercy of her chaos, and she was starting to feel the first cold fingers of consequence. He didn't celebrate. He just reset the plates, chalked his hands, and pulled again. 18 months after the papers were served, Daniel Harper no longer looked like the man who once blended into corporate conference rooms. The transformation wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. No before and after montage with swelling music, but it was undeniable. Shoulders that used to slope forward now sat square and thick from consistent, heavy pressing. His neck had filled out from shrugs and farmer carries. The slight paunch he'd carried since 35 had vanished, replaced by visible abs when he lifted his shirt to check form in the garage mirror. He moved differently, too, deliberate, unhurried, like someone who had learned that space belongs to whoever occupies it without apology. He kept the same wardrobe mostly, dark chinos, white Oxford, navy blazer for client calls, but the fit changed. Tailored now, not flashy, just precise. When he walked into meetings, people noticed, not because he demanded attention, but because he no longer shrank from it. The abundance mindset wasn't something he read in a pickup artist forum and decided to adopt. It arrived organically, the way hunger fades after consistent meals. He didn't chase dates. He simply existed in the world as a high-value man, financially secure, physically strong, emotionally contained, and women responded to the signal. First was Sarah, 38, pediatric ER nurse. They met at a charity 5K he ran to stay visible in the kids' school community. She approached him at the finish line, sweat still on her brow, laughing about how she'd almost walked the last mile. Conversation flowed without effort, no games. Dinner the next week at a quiet Italian place downtown. She asked about the divorce once, listened without judgment, then changed the subject to her worst night shift stories. They slept together on the third date. No drama, no declarations, just mutual desire and respect. Then came Elena, 41, corporate litigator who worked in the same building complex. They crossed paths in the lobby coffee line 3 times before she handed him her card. "You look like someone who doesn't waste time," she said. They met for drinks after work. She was sharp, direct, sexually confident. They kept it casual, once or twice a month, always on her terms or his, never overlapping with Sarah. No jealousy, no expectations beyond enjoyment. The third was quieter. Claire, 36, elementary school teacher and single mom to a 9-year-old boy. They met through Lucas's soccer league. She coached the opposing team. She laughed easily, touched his arm when making a point, asked real questions about his rebuild without prying. They dated slowly. Walks in the park with the kids running ahead. Movie nights where everyone fell asleep on the couch. Sex came later, gentler, more connected. She didn't ask to be exclusive. He didn't offer yet. But the door stayed open. His boundaries because he enforced them. His boundaries because he enforced them without apology. He scheduled dates like he scheduled workouts. Intentional, non-negotiable. No guilt. The house no longer felt empty on Friday nights. It felt chosen. Work accelerated. The AI inference team he'd helped build scaled to production. Latency dropped 40%. Cost per million tokens fell below industry benchmarks. The VP of engineering flew in for a review, shook Daniel's hand, said, "We're putting your name up for principal engineer. Equity grant pending board approval." Base would hit $320,000. He thanked the VP, then went home and added another plate to the squat rack. 315 for 5, no belt, no wraps, just breath, brace, and drive. Emily's trajectory moved in the opposite direction, though the velocity was slower at first, almost imperceptible, like watching ice crack under weight. The condo lease came up for renewal. Mark was gone. The girls who'd cheered her freedom started ghosting group chats when the drama became repetitive. She tried dating apps, profile curated, photos from better angles, bio full of buzzwords. Adventure seeker, deep thinker, ready for real connection. Matches came fast at first. High-status guys swiped right on the pretty divorcee with the nice smile. Coffee dates turned into dinners, turned into drinks. But the follow-through faltered. The pattern repeated. Initial excitement, then complaints about emotional unavailability, commitment issues, too much baggage. One guy, a 45-year-old tech founder, told her straight, "You talk about your ex like he's still in the room." She blocked him. Another, a finance VP, lasted 6 weeks before he said, "I need low maintenance." She cried for 2 days, posted a cryptic quote about knowing your worth, then kept swiping. The glow-up photos thinned, filters got heavier, captions shifted from triumphant to wistful, learning patience, trust the timing. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from the ones we thought we knew. Likes dropped, comments became generic, heart emojis, sending love. The algorithm noticed. Her reach shrank. She tried the Hoover in stages. First soft, text through Our Family Wizard, the only channel Daniel still monitored. "Mia's been asking about family game nights again. Maybe we could do one sometime." For the kids, he replied. Happy to host game night with the kids on my weekends. Let me know dates that work. No invitation extended to her. She didn't respond. Next, nostalgic, late-night message after a glass of wine. He could tell from the typos. Remember that trip to Paris? We were so young. I miss laughing like that. He read it, felt the old pull for half a second, then gray-rocked. Memories are memories. Focus on the present for the kids. Sent. Archived. Then the guilt trips escalated. She started looping in mutual friends. A text from an old college buddy. Hey man, Emily's really struggling. Says you've changed, won't even talk to her about co-parenting. Kids are caught in the middle. Daniel replied once, politely. Parenting discussions stay in OFW. Happy to share my side if needed. The friend didn't push again. The smears followed. Group chat screenshots leaked to him by a sympathetic mutual. Emily venting. Daniel's turned into this cold, gym-obsessed robot. Barely sees the kids emotionally. I'm doing everything alone. Another. He's dating around like he's 25 again. Meanwhile, I'm raising our children. The group mostly stayed silent. A few liked the messages. Most didn't engage. Daniel documented. Screenshots, timestamps, no public rebuttal, no private defense. Just evidence stacking in the reversal folder on his encrypted drive. The kids felt it most. Mia, now 16, started opening up during drives home from debate practice. Mom cries a lot at night. Says you hate her. Daniel kept his voice level. I don't hate her. I'm focused on being the best dad I can be. You can always talk to me about anything. Mia nodded, eyes on the dashboard. I know. It's just confusing. Lucas asked once, point blank, Are you happier now? Daniel thought for a second. Yes, and I want you both to be happy too. That's why I keep showing up. Lucas hugged him longer than usual that night. Emily's final Hoover attempt came at a school event. Spring concert, Mia on flute. Daniel arrived early, saved seats for himself and Claire. They'd started bringing the kids together occasionally. Emily showed up late, sat 2 rows behind, makeup heavy, dressed tighter than necessary. After the performance, she approached in the lobby, voice pitched for bystanders. Daniel, can we talk, just for a minute, about the kids? He turned, calm. Sure, about the kids, through OFW, or, if it's urgent, Rachel can set a mediated call. Her smile faltered. You don't have to be like this. Like what? So, closed off. I'm protecting my peace and the kids' stability. Claire stepped closer, hand light on his arm. Emily's eyes flicked to the touch, then away. She left without another word. That night, Daniel added 25 pounds to his bench. 275 paused at the chest. Clean press. The bar rattled in the rack when he finished. He stood, breathing hard, and looked at the mirror. Not for vanity, for verification. The reversal was complete. He had options. She had regret. He had frame. She had excuses. He had built. She had borrowed time. And time, unlike hypergamy, doesn't lie. The first anonymous tip landed in Daniel's company inbox on a Thursday in early July, forwarded from HR with the subject line, Confidential Concern, Employee Conduct. The message was short, professionally worded, and utterly fabricated. Daniel Harper, engineering, has a documented history of creating a hostile work environment, including verbal intimidation and inappropriate comments toward female colleagues. This behavior dates back to his previous role at old company name. Please investigate to ensure workplace safety. No signature. Sent from a Proton Mail address created that same day. Attachments? None, just words on a screen. Daniel read it twice while the coffee cooled in his mug. Then he forwarded it to Rachel with one line. She's escalating. Expect more. Rachel called within the hour. Classic escalation. She's lost the soft power, guilt, nostalgia, social pressure, so she's going for institutional damage. We'll handle it internally first. Don't respond. Don't discuss it with anyone at work. Let me draft the reply to HR. The reply was surgical. Timeline of his employment at the old firm, no complaints ever filed. Performance reviews, consistently exceeds expectations. Character references from 3 female colleagues he'd worked closely with over the years, and a polite request for the company to trace the IP origin of the email if legally feasible. HR launched a quiet, internal review. 2 weeks later, they closed it. No evidence of misconduct, matter resolved. But Emily wasn't finished. The second tip came 2 weeks later, this time to the compliance hotline, alleging potential misuse of company resources for personal matters post-divorce. Vague enough to trigger a look, specific enough to annoy. Daniel's manager pulled him aside after a stand-up. HR got another one. Same flavor. They're asking for your expense reports last 6 months. Just routine. Daniel handed over everything. Clean, boring, no red flags. The investigation wrapped in 10 days. Nothing found. His manager clapped him on the shoulder. "You're good, man. Sorry you're dealing with this." Daniel nodded. Inside, the ledger ticked up another entry. Violation of no contact via indirect sabotage. He added a new folder. Sabotage log. Date, July 12th. Anonymous HR tip RE, hostile environment. Date, July 28th. Anonymous compliance tip RE, expense misuse. Evidence, forwarded emails, HR closure notes. Response, documented, forwarded to counsel, no emotional reaction. Rachel filed a motion to modify the existing protective order, citing repeated breaches. She's using third-party channels to harass. We want expanded language, no contact through intermediaries, no anonymous reports, full no contact except child-related matters via OFW. The judge granted it. Emily was served the new order at her condo. She signed for it in person. Daniel wasn't there, but the process server's body cam footage showed her face when she read the cover sheet. Pale, then red. Then she slammed the door. The voicemail started that night. She'd found a way around the blocked number. New Google Voice account, probably. The first was soft, almost pleading. "Daniel, please, I just want to talk. The kids are struggling. Mia won't talk to me about anything real anymore. This isn't fair." He saved it. Didn't reply. The second, 2 nights later, was angrier. "You think you're untouchable now, with your gym body and your little girlfriends? You're still the same weak man who let me walk all over you for years. You'll regret freezing me out." Saved, time-stamped, forwarded to Rachel. The third was unhinged. "I know where you live, I know where you work. You can't hide forever. The kids need their mother stable, and you're destroying me. Call me back or I swear." He cut it off mid-sentence, saved the file, changed his number the next morning. New SIM, new Google Voice for work, strict forwarding rules. Rachel filed for harassment extension. Voice recordings entered as exhibits A through C. Emily showed up in person 3 days later. It was 1:47 a.m. The doorbell camera caught everything in crisp 4K, her pulling into the driveway, same SUV he'd paid off years ago, stepping out in yoga pants and an oversized hoodie, hair messy, eyes glassy. She rang the bell 5 times. When no answer, she started knocking, hard, rhythmic, loud enough to wake neighbors. Then yelling, "Daniel, open the door. We need to talk. This is ridiculous." He stayed upstairs, phone recording audio from the bedroom. Didn't move. Didn't speak. After 8 minutes, she gave up, got back in the car, sat there for another 10 with headlights off, then drove away. The footage went straight to Rachel. Motion filed the next business day. Emergency restraining order violation, request for police escort on child exchanges, temporary suspension of her unsupervised parenting time pending psych eval. Emily's lawyer tried damage control. My client was in distress. Emotional outburst, not harassment. The judge wasn't buying it. Distress doesn't justify violating a court order at 2 a.m. Parenting time reduced to supervised visits until further notice. Police standby required for exchanges. The supervised visits were held at a family center downtown, neutral ground, trained monitors, 1-hour blocks twice a week. Daniel dropped the kids off, waited in the parking lot reading Epictetus, picked them up after. Mia came out quiet the first time. Lucas looked confused. Both asked why Mom couldn't just come to the house anymore. Daniel answered the same way every time. Right now, the court says we need to follow rules so everyone stays safe. I'm doing what the judge asked. I love you both. That doesn't change. Mia hugged him tighter those weeks. Lucas started talking more in the car, about school, about soccer, about how Mom cries when the monitor isn't looking. Emily spiraled harder. She posted again, first time in months. A long carousel on Instagram. Old family photos, him cropped out. Captions heavy with martyr energy. Some people choose to destroy instead of heal. Kids deserve both parents. I'll never stop fighting for my family. Stories of her at therapy, at yoga, reclaiming my power. The comments were sparse, a few loyal friends, mostly silence. Then the anonymous Yelp/Google review on his company's page. Toxic leadership, manager harasses women, avoid working here. Traced to the same IP range as the earlier HR tips. Daniel's director called him in again, showed the review. Daniel laid out the pattern, dates, prior incidents, court filings. The company removed it, flagged the account, and quietly notified local law enforcement of coordinated harassment. Rachel moved for criminal charges, stalking, harassment, violation of protective order, multiple counts. Evidence was overwhelming. Voicemails, doorbell cam, IP traces linking back to her home Wi-Fi, even a ring camera from a neighbor that caught her car idling outside his house on 2 separate nights. The DA took the case. Not high priority, but solid enough for misdemeanor charges with potential felony escalation if she kept going. She kept going. One last attempt. Showed up at his new apartment complex. He'd moved 6 months earlier to downsize after the equity vest. Buzzed every unit until someone let her in. Made it to his floor. Knocked. Yelled through the door. You win, okay? You fucking win. Just talk to me. I'm sorry. I need help. He recorded from inside. Called the non-emergency line. Police arrived in 12 minutes. She was still there, sitting against his door, sobbing. They escorted her out. She didn't resist, just kept repeating, "He's ruining my life." Arrested for trespassing and protective order violation. Booked, released on own recognizance pending arraignment. Daniel didn't gloat. He didn't post. He didn't tell the kids details, just that Mom needs some time to get help, so visits will be different for a while. That night he deadlifted 405 for the first time. Triple, no bounce. Chalk dust on the bar. When he racked it, the sound echoed like finality. The spiral had bottomed. She'd tried everything. Soft power, guilt, smears, sabotage, obsession, and every move tightened the legal and social noose she'd placed around her own neck. He hadn't raised his voice once. He hadn't needed to. Frame held, evidence spoke, consequences arrived, and the forge, once just a garage with a barbell, had produced something unbreakable. The courtroom on the 5th floor of the county family and probate building smelled of old carpet, printer toner, and the faint metallic tang of anxiety that never quite leaves these places. It was late September, 2 years and change since the original divorce papers had landed on the kitchen island like a quiet bomb. The gallery was sparsely populated, a bailiff scrolling his phone, the court reporter adjusting her machine, Rachel Klein in her charcoal suit sitting beside Daniel, Emily and her new, third attorney at the opposite table. No kids allowed, no spectators who mattered, just the principles and the machinery of consequence. Daniel wore the same navy blazer he'd bought for his principal engineer promotion interview. Tailored, unassuming, no power tie. He sat straight-backed, hands folded on the table, eyes forward. No fidgeting, no glances at Emily. He'd rehearsed this moment the way he rehearsed heavy lifts: breathe, brace, execute. The judge, a different one from the early hearings, a man in his late 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and the patient exhaustion of someone who'd seen every variation of human failure, opened the file. We're here on the petitioner's motion for modification of custody and support, cross-motion for enforcement of protective orders, and the respondent's counter-request for sanctions, including criminal referral. I've reviewed the submissions. Counsel, any opening statements? Rachel stood first. Your Honor, the evidence will show a clear and sustained pattern of violation by Ms. Harper, repeated breaches of no-contact orders, anonymous workplace sabotage, late-night confrontations, and documented attempts to alienate the children. We're asking for primary physical custody to Mr. Harper, reduction of alimony to statutory minimum, and referral of perjury and harassment charges to the district attorney. Emily's attorney, a younger man named Patel, hired after her second lawyer quit, rose next. Your Honor, my client has been under extreme emotional distress. These incidents reflect mental health struggles, not malice. She's in therapy now, compliant with medication. We ask the court to consider rehabilitation over punishment, maintain joint custody, and restore full alimony. The judge nodded without expression. Proceed. Rachel called her first witness, the process server who delivered the expanded protective order. Body cam footage played on the courtroom monitor, Emily signing, then slamming the door. Next, Daniel's building manager, who testified to the 2 a.m. incident, the yelling, the police report. Then the ring footage from the neighbor, Emily's SUV idling outside Daniel's house on 2 nights, headlights off, engine running for 27 minutes one time, 41 the next. Emily's attorney objected once, relevance to custody, and was overruled. Rachel moved to the electronic evidence. Voicemails played through courtroom speakers, tinny but unmistakable. You can't hide forever. I know where you live. You're destroying me. Each file time-stamped, IP traced where possible, cross-referenced to her known devices. The anonymous HR tips, the compliance hotline call, the Yelp/Google review, all linked via subpoenaed records to the same residential IP address. Daniel took the stand last. Rachel walked him through the basics: employment history, income trajectory, parenting involvement, then the hard part. Mr. Harper, describe your relationship with the children now. I see them every other weekend, plus 1 midweek overnight, plus school events. We do homework together, soccer practice, debate prep. Mia's applying to colleges. We toured 3 campuses last month. Lucas made all-star team. I coach his practices when I can. And Ms. Harper's involvement? She's had supervised visitation for the last 9 months. The kids report she's often emotional during visits, crying, talking about the divorce. They've asked me why she can't come to the house. I tell them the court set rules for safety. Has she attempted contact outside those parameters? Yes, multiple times. Texts, voicemails, in-person appearances. Have you ever violated the orders? No. Rachel passed him the exhibit binder. These are your Our Family Wizard logs. Characterize your communication style. Brief, factual, child-focused only. No discussion of the marriage or her personal life. Patel cross-examined. He tried the empathy angle. Mr. Harper, wouldn't you agree that children benefit from both parents being emotionally available? Daniel didn't flinch. Yes, but emotional availability can't come at the cost of safety or stability. When one parent repeatedly violates court orders, That creates instability. Patel pivoted. You've dated multiple women since the divorce. Doesn't that affect the children? I date responsibly. The children have met two partners, both in group settings, never overnight. They like them. No negative impact. Patel tried harder. You've become unrecognizable, some might say. Gym obsession, career focus, emotional distance. Isn't that a form of abandonment? Daniel met his eyes. I've become healthier, stronger, more present for my kids. If that looks like distance to someone who preferred the old version of me, that's their perspective. The judge cut in. Enough. I've heard what I need. Emily took the stand. She wore a simple gray dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked smaller than she had in the early hearings, cheeks hollower, eyes shadowed. Her voice cracked twice before she steadied. She spoke of regret, of therapy, of medication for anxiety and depression, of wanting to rebuild trust, of how the children needed their mother. She cried, real tears, not performative. When Patel asked why she'd violated the orders, she said, I was desperate. I felt like I was losing everything. Rachel cross-examined without raising her voice. Ms. Harper, you filed an affidavit claiming Mr. Harper physically intimidated you. Was that true? A long pause. I felt threatened. Was there physical contact, bruises, police report? No. You alleged verbal abuse on specific dates when Mr. Harper's calendar shows him at work or with the children? Explain. I may have misremembered dates. Misremembered or fabricated? Patel objected, sustained, but the damage was done. Rachel moved to the perjury angle. You stated under oath that Mr. Harper grabbed your arm during an argument. Medical records show no injury, no corroboration. Was that statement true? Emily looked down. I was scared. Scared enough to lie to a court? No answer. The judge recessed for deliberation. 47 minutes later, he returned. After reviewing the evidence, I find Ms. Harper in repeated, willful violation of protective orders. I find the initial abuse allegations unsubstantiated and likely false, constituting perjury. Custody is modified. Mr. Harper awarded primary physical and legal custody. Ms. Harper granted supervised visitation, minimum 2 hours weekly, pending completion of anger management and parenting classes. Alimony reduced to statutory guideline minimum, terminating upon Ms. Harper's remarriage or cohabitation. Matter referred to the district attorney for review of perjury and multiple counts of protective order violation. Gavel. Emily sat frozen. Patel whispered something. She shook her head. When the bailiff approached to escort her for processing on the criminal referral, she stood slowly, like the room had gravity she couldn't fight. Daniel didn't look at her as she left. He thanked Rachel, shook her hand, walked out into the hallway where sunlight slanted through tall windows. He exhaled once, long, controlled, and texted Claire. It's done, picking up the kids early. Dinner at our place? She replied instantly. We'll be there. Proud of you. 2 years later, the house was different. Smaller, sold the big one, bought a craftsman closer to the kids' schools. The garage still had the power rack, now joined by a sled and kettlebells. The kids' rooms were full again, Mia's college posters, Lucas's soccer trophies. Claire had moved in 6 months earlier. They married quietly on a Thursday afternoon at City Hall. No big party, just family and a few close friends. A daughter arrived 11 months later, Eleanor, named after Claire's grandmother. Then a son, Theo, born last spring. Daniel still rose at 4:45, still deadlifted heavy, still read Epictetus over black coffee. But the journal entries had changed. Fewer corrections, more gratitude. Mia graduated high school valedictorian. In her speech, she said, resilience isn't about never falling. It's about choosing what you do with the fall. She looked at Daniel in the audience when she said it. He nodded once. Lucas made varsity as a freshman. After games, he still hugged his dad in front of teammates. No shame. Emily faded from public view. The supervised visits dwindled. Sometimes she canceled, citing health. The last anyone heard, she'd moved to a small apartment 2 towns over. No social media, no mutual friends mentioning her. A few court filings showed she'd defaulted on some credit cards, sold the condo at a loss. The criminal case resolved with probation and mandatory counseling after she pleaded to lesser charges. She never reapproached Daniel directly. One evening, years into the new life, Daniel sat on the back porch with Claire while the kids played in the yard. Eleanor toddled after a ball. Theo napped in the bassinet. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. "You ever think about her?" she asked. "Sometimes. Not with anger, just as a lesson." What lesson? That some people choose the trap, and some choose to walk away. He watched Mia teach Eleanor how to kick the ball, gentle, patient. Lucas ran over, scooped the toddler up, spun her until she squealed. Daniel felt the quiet certainty that had replaced the old ache. He hadn't just survived. He'd built something better, and built it to last. Moral: some traps are only escaped when you stop struggling against the bars and simply stop feeding the mechanism that holds them shut. Modern-day Aesop. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom for the modern world.